That movie was weird. Hi, my name is Lauren, and I just finished watching Snow White and the Huntsman. So now I'm gonna review the crap out of it. This movie, I don't really know where to start. Half the time I was sitting there laughing. Not with it, but at it. And the other half of the time I'm just kind of sitting there like... I actually ended up live tweeting the entire process of me watching this movie, which, sidebar, if you follow me on Twitter and you persevered through my live tweets and you did not unfollow me, then more power to you, friend. So let's begin. Alright, so basically the movie starts off and you see like the king and the queen and they have a baby and her name is Snow White. Oh, big shocker. So then flash forward a few years, Snow White brings the queen this raven and it's like broken. That's not what I meant to say. This raven has a broken wing, and so Snow White brings the broken raven to her mother, and you know, her mom's all talking about how it'll heal in time and how Snow White's like the fairest in the land, and none of it really made any sense, but you know what? I guess the writers just didn't want this movie to make sense. Flash forward a little bit more and the queen dies, and then all of a sudden like the kingdom is trapped in this snowy winter thing. So then this neighboring kingdom has an army and they take advantage of the king's grief. They come and lure him into battle. The king's on the front lines, he goes in, he like cuts them all, and they're all made out of like this black glass, which is really, I don't understand. But anyway, so they find a prisoner, or so you think, in this wagon. They go, they rescue her, and it's, well, you guessed it, the evil queen. Except she's not queen yet. The king has to marry her first, and he does the very next day. Good thinking, king. Wedding goes down, whatever, and it's the wedding night, and the king and queen are in their room. Queen goes and stabs the king in the gut, and the king dies. That's not exactly what he thought he was going to be getting that night. So then, like, the queen apparently turns out to be in cahoots with the weird black glass people, and her brother, who's like this really creepy guy with a bad haircut, comes in, and they take over the kingdom, and now the kingdom's in ruin. So Snow White's childhood friend, William, who is later on played by the lovely Sam Claflin, they were friends when they were kids, and William, his character name, and William's father escape, and they leave Snow White behind because they think that she's as good as dead. I just hit my camera, I'm sorry. But William feels very guilty about it, as he states later in the film. Anyway, flash forward a few years, well, more than a few years, and Snow White is being kept in this dungeon, and the kingdom has absolutely no life in it whatsoever, I mean, other than the suffering people. And then the queen, this is really weird, okay? And it kind of reminded me of Tangled in a weird way. The queen is obsessed with staying young and beautiful and healthy forever. But where this differs from Tangled is, instead of keeping, you know, someone you claim to be your daughter in a tower and just using her magic hair, this queen sucks the life out of innocent village girls, and in result turns them old and herself young. Your guess is as good as mine. Snow somehow ends up escaping from this dungeon of hers, and she runs off into the Black Forest or Dark Forest or whatever it is they called it, and the queen wants somebody to go out and capture her and bring them back her heart because she wants to eat the heart and basically be beautiful and immortal. Who does she hire? The Huntsman, of course, except instead of being some like tough brute who, you know, beats people up in bars, Chris Hemsworth's character, the Huntsman, is a drunk. So the Huntsman agrees to go find Snow White only because he thinks that the evil queen will bring back his dead wife. He goes out, he finds Snow White, and then he realizes, oh hey, the queen isn't going to be able to bring my wife back, so I'm going to run away. So he and Snow run away, they meet like a goblin thing, and Snow just looks into its eyes and it leaves them alone, and I'm like, what? They go on, they have like these journeys and whatever. And let me tell you something. There was no character development at all in any way, shape, or form. Nothing. They go and eventually they meet dwarves. They hang them from a tree upside down, but then they're like, oh, never mind, we'll set you free. So they cut them down and then they run away from the evil queen's army. Somehow, William, all grown up and now beautiful, has joined the evil queen's little band of misfits trying to find Snow White and is posing as their bowman. I guess he somehow joined them to find Snow White, but he was never planning on helping them capture her. He just wanted to find her. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention at that point in the movie. I was kind of too busy live tweeting and making fun of it. So anyways, they all come together at one point and it's like this not so big reunion between William and Snow. It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you. Like I said, no character development at all. Okay, the costume designers. Everybody was in these like period costumes, right? They all looked like they could have been from that time, more or less. And then Snow White, the main protagonist, who gets the most screen time in this movie. She's wearing like a periodic dress, okay, whatever, but then underneath it, she's wearing brown skinny jeans. It's like the costume designers were like, yeah, don't really want to take the time to work on your costume, so here, we went to Urban Outfitters, wear these. Really? The only scene in the movie that actually moved me was after Snow died and she was laying in the castle of William's father, the Duke, or whoever he was. The Huntsman is in there and, you know, he's drinking away his sorrows and he's just staring at her. That was when you really saw who the Huntsman was supposed to be. It really moved me because he, you know, is walking towards Snow White, who's lying dead, and he's basically talking to her, and he had this killer monologue. It was so good. And he was talking about, you know, his wife and how when she found him he was this mess and she saved him basically, and then he let her out of his sight for 1 minute and she was gone because like the evil queen captured her and sucked out her life, I guess. I don't really know. And then he's talking about how he just saw himself drifting back into this person that he was before and who he didn't like at all. And then he just looks at Snow White lying dead on the bed and he goes, until you. That was nice. It was just really, really sweet. And then he bent down and he kissed her and I was like, oh my gosh. And then he left and then she came back to life and then she gave like this crazy speech. Then the battle happened. The ending, it sucked. She gets crowned queen and everyone's cheering and whatever, and she looks over and she sees William standing there, and then she looks over and she sees the dwarves standing there and like, you know, all these people who mean a lot to her. And then finally she looks and she sees the Huntsman and he's just smiling at her, and then it just ends. The Huntsman and Snow didn't even talk to each other after she came back to life. There was no sweet reunion with them. Nothing happened. Dude, it was his kiss that brought her back to life. Why is nothing happening? The credits started rolling and I was like, no. So, in case you couldn't tell, I didn't really like this movie. All in all, I give this movie 1.5 stars. 1 star because of the few moments of glory with some of their good monologues, and then the 0.5 star because Sam Claflin. So basically, the moral of the story here is don't marry someone who you hardly know based off of just their looks alone, because chances are they're going to kill you and then leave your kingdom to ruin. Don't say I didn't warn you.